Bemidji residents will vote next year on whether to amend the city charter to include a recall option for city council members. The council recently voted against adding the recall language to the charter. That means the recommendation from the Charter Commission will now go on the ballot in November 2012. If approved, it would allow the public to recall council members for malfeasance.
It should be the voters who have that right to recall an individual that they elected. Now, perhaps there were people who did not vote for that individual who are going to be voting to recall, but that is something that should be in the hands of the voters, of the people, and not that given that once you're elected, you're automatically not held accountable for your behavior.
I would be of concern of, for lack of better terms, special interest groups, utilizing this tool to get rid of somebody that they don't agree with. I can think back to the issue of building the Sanford Center. Very contentious in our community. I know I could find people on both sides of the aisle to get enough signatures on a petition to recall any one of the councilors that voted for or against that.
Commission members say many cities have recall provisions in their charters and that they're rarely used.
We found that in most cases the recall language has not been utilized in the state of Minnesota. As we've talked to the home rule charter cities and finding out they can't remember either. Now, there might have been efforts and either they couldn't get enough votes to move it, or enough signatures to move it forward, or that their petition was not a legal petition. There are those kinds of things that have to obviously be followed too. So yes, there is that, well, if nobody uses it, but if it's one of those rights that we thought people should have, whether they chose to utilize it or not, that was their decision.
But Waldhausen says because the language of what constitutes malfeasance is vague, the recall option could be used often and create an unneeded burden for council members.
There is the thought of a group wanting to recall their particular councilor. The 250 or less paper that they would define the reasons, there's no oversight on that. I believe that should be looked at by somebody, maybe a county attorney, or doing an investigation to see if these charges are warranted or not. If they are warranted, absolutely, go through with it. But if they're not warranted, I would not like an elected official to have to go through the process of campaigning and trying to clear their name in the public, and that would be the perception. If a group is looking to recall their councilor or the mayor, that kind of indicates or points a finger that there was something wrong done, and that very well may not be the case.
Ryder says the definition of malfeasance is clear under Minnesota law. The current proposal would require 5 registered voters to draft a statement and file it with the city. Then they would need to gather signatures from 20% of the number of voters who voted for that councilor in the next election. If that happens, then an election would be called and all voters in that ward would be able to vote on recalling the councilor. A majority of the ward would have to vote in favor of recalling the councilor for it to occur. Waldhausen says he hopes the council can work with the commission some more to improve the terminology of the provision before it goes to the voters.
If you've enjoyed this segment of Lakeland News, please consider making a tax-deductible contribution to Lakeland Public Television.